I will prove that our planet is being visited by crafts. No longer is the notion that we are being visited a hypothesis or a theory, but is indeed a fact. In the same way that gravity exists as a fact, in the same way that global warming exists is a fact, and in the same way that the earth is round and not flat is a fact. What I can't prove is what is occupying these crafts, what is controlling these crafts. It could be anything, potentially. It could be some civilization on the earth that we do not know of. It could be interdimensional. It could be some secret society that is light years ahead of us in technology that we don't know of. But I would propose that Occam's razor points to something else, and that is that what's occupying and or controlling these crafts is nothing more and nothing less than civilizations from other worlds in our very own universe. Something of historical significance that will be discussed literally 1,000 years from now, assuming humanity makes it to that period, occurred on October 11th. Tom DeLonge, yes, the musician, held a live broadcast. And in that live broadcast, he had a team of scientists, former members of the CIA, the Department of Defense, people who were of the highest level of the US government, explaining what I'm trying to tell you, that we are not alone in the universe. Before I delve into the proof that they provided that we are not alone in the universe, I want to go over their exquisite profiles. This is going to blow your mind. The press conference I'm speaking of consisted of the following team members of a company called To the Stars Academy. Jim Semivan is a career spy, former senior intelligence service member in the CIA's Directorate of Operations. Dr. Hal Puthoff is a theoretical physicist and a program director for numerous CIA and DoD, which stands for Department of Defense, classified programs. He's also the creator of the CIA's Revolutionary Psychic Spy Program. Steve Justice finished his career as Director of Advanced Systems at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. To this day, Skunk Works is the U.S. government's top-tier aerospace organization for the development of advanced aircraft. Steve Justice literally retired a month prior to the Stars live broadcast. Luis Elizondo is a career intelligence officer whose experience includes working with the U.S. Army, the Department of Defense, the National Counterintelligence Executive, and the Director of National Intelligence. Most recently, Luis managed the security for certain sensitive portfolios for the U.S. government as the Director for the National Program Special Management Staff. For nearly the last decade, Luis also ran a sensitive aerospace threat identification program focusing on unidentified aerial technologies. Days prior to the live broadcast, he literally finished his career at the Department of Defense as one of the senior covert intelligence officers in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Chris Mellon has a long career at the DoD as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence and Minority Staff Director of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Chris was actually involved in reviewing many of the U.S.'s most sensitive activities over the course of his career. I hope you took notice of something incredibly important and significant. Two of the members that I outlined from Tom DeLonge's team have retired from extremely high-level government positions extremely recently. Steve Justice, after a long and prosperous 31-year career as program director of Lockheed Martin, literally retired a month prior to the broadcast. And Luis Elizondo, who ran a sensitive aerospace threat identification program focusing on unidentified aerial technology, retired days before the press conference. And by the way, when you're focusing on unidentified aerial technology, I got news for you. Those he's focusing on are UFOs. So why is it so significant that two of the members of Tom's team retired so recently? One from the highest level of the Pentagon, and the other from the highest level of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. There's actually two reasons that this is profoundly significant. Number one is there have been a lot of people who have said a lot of stuff, but often it's like 20 years out from when they retired. So they feel much safer and comfortable coming out about the UFO subject. This is unprecedented, for sure. No one at this level, this close to retirement, has ever come out and said, basically said, yes, we are being visited by crafts. Number two, there is not a way in the universe that these members, particularly Luis Elizondo and Steve Justice, and all of them, because they're all doing this together, there is not a way in the world that this was not discussed with the Pentagon. If you actually believe that they're doing this on their own, freshly out of the Pentagon, freshly out of the highest level of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and they're just like, yeah, I'm gonna have a little fun. I'm gonna go public about the ET issue. I don't care what the Pentagon thinks. You actually believe that? If you believe that, I have this beautiful mansion in South Dakota beachfront that I want to sell you. There is no question that this has been discussed. There is no question that there is a green light to bring this subject to humanity, not only to Americans, but to all people. Furthermore, do you know how long it takes to prepare for the kind of news conference that they engaged? It was all from teleprompters. It was all handwritten. Weeks, months, who knows? Certainly longer than Luis Elizondo has been retired. So let's put this in perspective. Luis Elizondo, who was basically in charge of watching unidentified technology come into Earth's atmosphere for the Pentagon, knew about this conference prior to him retiring. Of course, he discussed it with his superiors. Of course, he discussed it with the CIA. This is some serious shit. Chris Mellon is the first of Tom's team to go to the podium during the press conference, and he shares with us an exquisite incident of a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, or UFO if you insist. And it is so well documented, it is so well corroborated that, dare I say, it is proof. It is proof that there are crafts coming into our atmosphere that we simply can't identify and we don't know what the hell they are. I believe they are civilizations from other worlds. They could be probes or they could be piloted, but regardless, they are not from this earth. Here is a semi-condensed version of what he had to say.
The following happened in 2004. The USS Nimitz, a $5 billion warship with a crew of thousands off the coast of San Diego on a brilliant sunny day, is escorted by the USS Princeton, an Aegis-class cruiser that protects carrier battle groups by employing the most sophisticated naval air defense system in the world. Suddenly, an unidentified aircraft with a small radar cross-section appears on the radar, heading directly towards the battle group. The Princeton contacts two F-18s already aloft to intercept the target. As the two F-18s approach, the four aviators see the object has no wings or exhaust. It is white, oblong, some 40 feet long and perhaps 12 feet thick. One pilot pursues the craft as his wingman stays high. The pilots are astonished to see the object suddenly reorient itself toward the approaching F-18. In a series of discrete tumbling maneuvers that seem to defy the laws of physics, the object takes a position directly behind the approaching F-18. The pilots capture gun camera footage and infrared imagery of the object. Low on fuel, the F-18s return to the carrier. The strange object remains in the vicinity of the Nimitz for hours, monitored by the USS Princeton and radar aboard a Navy E-2 Hawkeye aircraft. At one point, the object soars to 80,000 feet, hovers, then drops at supersonic speed, coming to a full stop a mere 50 feet above the ocean, where it resumes hovering. More F-18s are dispatched, but with similar results. As before, the engagement occurs in broad daylight, and the secret machine easily evades the F-18s. Dozens of military personnel aboard the various planes and ships involved are privy to these interactions. Mullen continues with, bear in mind that naval aviators are the finest observers possible. All have top secret clearances, all are drug tested, are ardent patriots, have excellent vision, and understand aeronautics and aviation. Clearly, this is not an experimental U.S. aircraft, but whose is it? How did it accomplish these feats? This story may sound like a sci-fi movie, but it is a true story and far from being the only one of its kind.
I will now post an original piece of the last part of Chris Mellon's speech because of how significant it is and because I want to analyze it right afterwards. Roll it.
But the real beauty of this story is that you don't have to take my word for it, or even that of the Navy officer who described these events in an article you can find on the web by searching on Nimitz UFOs 2004, There I Was. Better yet, the U.S. government itself can verify the events involving the USS Nimitz on November 14th, 2004. So the key to revealing whether or not there are advanced vehicles with capabilities far beyond anything made in America is now in the hands of the press and the public. The chairman of the Armed Services Committee and his counterparts on other congressional oversight committees can easily request a briefing to confirm the veracity of this story and the existence of other events of a similar nature. Congress has every right to review the documents generated by this event and request briefings by the military personnel involved. If the oversight committees have not already been briefed on this event and others like it, they clearly should be. How else can they adequately assess threats to our forces and our military requirements? There is nothing to prove here. These are just facts that need to be properly evaluated.
So Chris Mellon says, you don't have to take my word for it. You can literally consult the government. Again, this is crystal clear that the Pentagon has given a green light for this all to come out in the open. This is unprecedented. He says, the key to revealing whether or not there are advanced vehicles with capabilities far beyond anything made in America is now in the hands of the press and the public. Pay close attention to the fact that he said anything made in America. Let me ask you, what military has the greatest budget? What military has the most advanced aircrafts? It's the United States of America. So if there is something that has greater capabilities than what the US has, what do you think that means? Yeah, extraterrestrial. Chris Mellon also says Congress can easily request briefing to confirm veracity of this story and existence of other events of a similar nature. Again, how can you be more crystal clear? The Pentagon is like, hello, Congress. Hello, the media. We're not keeping this a secret any longer. You want to know about all the events that we have documented, that we have corroborated, that we have mountains of evidence purporting its truth? Come at it. When will the media awaken? When will the Congress come to the right people and say, I want to be briefed? The time is now. Grant Cameron makes a superb point on the K2D4 network. I disagree with him slightly, but let me roll the tape.
I say it's science that's blocking this thing. Because if suddenly some guy like Hawkins or somebody were to come out and say, yes, this is for real, or some major scientist, everybody would jump on the bandwagon. But it's the science guys who are saying, no, this isn't for real. It's science that's blocking it, because science is saying, you cannot get here from there. This is all garbage. This is pseudoscience. It's woo-woo. It's not true. And if you try to say it is true, and Hal Puthoff went through this, you could lose your credentials, you could lose your job, you could lose your funding, and that's where the block is. It's not the media, it's not the government, it's science that's blocking this whole story.
I think Grant made an excellent point that science is one of the key factors that is preventing the discussion, the conversation about the myriad of well-documented incidences that are highly corroborated, have radar, have witnesses, high-level witnesses of rank and station. We don't talk about that. Have you seen it on 60 Minutes? I don't know about you. I've never seen a 60 Minutes cover it. Grant is really on to something about scientists who keep their mouth shut. Maybe because they don't want to be ridiculed, maybe because they don't want to lose a grant, maybe they don't believe it. However, it's hard for me to believe that they don't believe it because they looked at the evidence and they concluded the evidence doesn't have weight. You can call me cynical if you like, but I believe that if you actually look at the preponderance of evidence, only confirmation bias could preclude you from saying, you know what, there's something to this. You don't have to say it's ET. You don't have to say anything. But there are definitely crafts coming into our atmosphere. Now, what I disagree with Grant Cameron is that I think if the media started covering it the way they should, if journalists would do their damn job, this is literally the biggest story of humanity. There is no bigger story. There never will be a bigger story. Let that sink in. If the media would cover it, the conversation would get going. Not enough people that are respected in the media and in science talk about it, even though there is not a bigger subject in the world. How this happened boggles my effing mind. Whoever's working for the CIA, whoever's working for the NSA, you are goddamn geniuses for you to have orchestrated somehow manipulating society so that we don't all one day say, wait a minute, why are we not talking about the ET phenomenon? And it's not that we don't talk about it, but it just never has broke through to the mainstream. Even if most people believe it, people don't talk about it. You know, big journalists don't talk about it. Neil deGrasse Tyson is a skeptic. He doesn't believe it. Maybe he hasn't looked at the evidence. I gotta be honest. I think a lot of these cats have just not looked at the evidence. You wanna know why? It's called confirmation bias. They're coming from a place where they believe it's not true. So they don't really dive into the material. They don't read Leslie Kean's great book that I recommend. They just say, it can't be true. It can't be true. So you know what? I'm not going to look into it. So they might look into one little thing. Or maybe they'll look into a story that's not a good story and is full of crap. There is a lot of disinformation, misinformation out there. So I've worked myself up and I need to calm down a little bit. I'm going to play the Egyptian modified flute to do so. While I play it, I'm going to overlay some people that should start talking seriously and researching and investigating the ET subject. I'm going to do this for about 20 seconds. Afterwards, I have a huge announcement to make. My big announcement is that I'm relaunching my website, postdisclosureworld.com. My website is a hub for all the best news stories on the subject of ETs, UFOs, and to some extent, general paranormal phenomena. I have a preference for articles that are the most reliable and from the best sources, but I will also include articles that, shall we say, are highly speculative yet enjoyable. My website will also include YouTube videos from the likes of people like Grant Cameron, Stephen Bassett, and Stephen Greer, among others. In addition to the website, I have a newsletter that I'll send out at least every Friday showcasing the best news stories of the week. I will never share or sell your information, ever. I'll leave a link in the description for those that are interested. You can also find me on Facebook at Post Disclosure World and on Twitter at Post Disclosure. I am extremely active on Facebook. I really hope you will subscribe to my YouTube channel. I plan on uploading at least once a week, and I'm really excited about our future. We are on the threshold of a post-disclosure world, and I will see you in that post-disclosure world.